A CBD business summit took place this week in Sydney, where a team of experts from various industries put their heads together to focus on how to drive business employment and bring more people into the city. Paul Zahra, CEO of the Australian Retail Association, was there and joins me live now. How are you, Paul?
Good morning.
So how productive was the summit?
Really productive. Now, this is about I think it's the third or fourth summit that the New South Wales government have run, and we've come up with a suite of initiatives to help get the CBD back on track. And of course, international tourists being welcomed back into the state is going to make a significant difference in solving the CBD, which is the last remaining cohort that's suffering since COVID. So it certainly needs a significant intervention, and the government's leading this, which we're really pleased to be part of.
And you mentioned the announcement of the Travellers February 21. Paul, how do you see this impacting the retail industry across Australia?
Well, look, it's not a silver bullet, I've got to say. So there's about $45 billion that tourists spend in Australia when they're visiting, but we don't expect it to be a snapback to the way things were. It'll be a slow wind back. And part of the summit, we looked at very much about short-term tactical responses that we need to do immediately. And they range from events to marketing vouchers that are targeted towards the CBD to more longer-term views of the CBD, which includes, the discussion around commercial versus residential mix, because we do think that there's some significant trends that are going on that we just will not be able to fight. And the biggest one locally is around this trend about people wanting to work from home. And of course, that has a significant impact on CBD retail and hospitality.
So where are sales headed?
Well, look, we just come off a very strong December quarter, plus 8.2, according to the ABS, and we landed at 3.6 for the year. But going into January, of course, Omicron hit. Sales did fall off a cliff. We think they'll stabilise. We think we'll end up with a fairly reasonable result for January. But again, saying that the two biggest cohorts, being that the CBDs are significantly impacted, and anyone that's actually trading with flagship locations in the CBD would have seen negative growth. And plus travel retail, of course, as a result. So we're remaining fairly confident. Savings are still high on household balance sheets. We've also got, people not travelling rather, and they're spending that money locally. So there's some really good signs still, but we just, what this comes down to, each state lifting lockdowns. WA is of great concern for us, and that we don't end up in a lockdown again.
And what about huge spending days? We've got obviously Christmas, Mother's Day, most recently coming up Valentine's Day. What is this going to be like for spending?
Well, Valentine's Day is sort of one of those events that started off as a religious event and now has become quite a commercial event. It's worth about $415 million in the lead up to and the day of Valentine's Day. It's the biggest day for florists, and the people, obviously the biggest shopping categories of floristry, chocolates, jewellery and alcohol gets a strong mention there in there as well. So that's the next biggest event for retailers on the retail calendar.
And what about online and in-store? Because, even with restrictions being lifted, there's still a lot of hesitancy out there, isn't there, for people going to the stores?
There is. And the biggest issue for Valentine's Day, of course, is hospitality, because what we're seeing is there's a great hesitancy for people to book restaurants on Valentine's Day. And what we're asking is people to share the love. So you may not feel comfortable shopping at your local restaurant, even though all restaurants are doing their absolute best from a COVID safety point of view. They may consider ordering and eating at home to support their local business. So we're asking people to think a bit broader than they may have done in the past.
All right, thank you so much, Paul. And we look forward to hearing what comes out of the summit. Certainly some short and long-term solutions by the sounds of it.
Absolutely.